budget work session. Calling the meeting to order. I'm turning my phone off vibrate. And let's start with the review of the town meeting day articles. Carrie, Anna, you want to take it from here? Walk us through each one and then we can discuss them after.
I will. So the first one is just the election of officers. So I don't know if you have any questions on that.
I was just wondering who put in petitions to run.
I'll get them.
Anna's gonna go get those right now.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think there was anybody at that. So Anna knows this. I already went over it. I'll skip to Article 2 at this point. So I inserted in email that we sent you this afternoon the estimated town general expenses. So that leaves minus the revenues that we're projecting, means that the amount to be raised by taxes is $4,422,592. So that seems pretty straightforward. It's always, Article 2 is always your expenses minus your revenues equals the amount to be raised by taxes. And Article 3 is really important as well because the draft you received stated that we were going to use up to $100,000, but Anna and I met last week and we feel pretty confident that we're able to use up to $250,000 to offset taxes, which will help keep our tax rate. Well, it'll help keep it from going up, frankly. But so we can go back to Articles 2 and 3, which are connected, obviously, to Article 1. And Anna's going through the petitions right now.
So for select person, 3 years, so far Brian Delorier, unopposed so far. And Brendan for 2 year, unopposed so far. For the school district, well, I guess you don't need to know that. I'm running, nobody else has turned in a petition, and that's it.
Have you heard about anyone else running?
No.
Anyone else? I haven't either.
We're
Okay.
still looking for one person from the town to run for the Maple Run Union School District.
Yeah, Stephen LaRosa isn't running again. We need somebody good from the town to
Right.
take his seat. The deadline's Monday at 5 o'clock. The caveat about this here is it's unsafe to do petitions, so you don't have to. You literally have to fill out a form and your name's on the ballot. So if you have somebody that's adverse to people, tell them to fill the form out and come to the town hall, Monday, and potentially be able to file for an unopposed seat. They're interested in serving in that role, but have shied away from it because of political, nonsense. So thank you, Anna.
You're welcome.
The Article 4, Carrie, you want to talk about the strategy for Friday? Given today's news about the...
Yep. But I kind of glossed over 2 and 3. Were there any questions about Articles 2 or 3? And we can always go back, but very rarely have I heard anyone object to using more money to reduce our taxes, so I guess we'll just move forward. Article 4, our design team has been working furiously to get us an estimate, a professional cost estimate on the new town hall. And hoped it would be done today, but it's just not going to be done today. They were planning on Friday at noon. So my plan is, and I've done this quite a bit in the past, and I know it's legal, that if we get consensus on which questions to put on the warning today, then I'm hoping we can continue this meeting to a time and date certain on Friday, say 2:30 or 2 or 3, or a date that at least 3 of you can make. Then we'll have that number. You can decide at that time, how to sign the warrant or not. Frankly, at this point, the meat of this is not likely to change. It's just that number, and so to that end, Anna and I looked into how much money we had. So we really, I guess, I would like some direction now to avoid a lengthy meeting on Friday. My
Mary, can I put in real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Has the article been floated by an operator from whoever we're hoping to shop our loan to? I just watching what George is going through, and I just get heebie-jeebies about wording.
What was the question again?
Has the article been run by an underwriter wherever we intend to seek the loan, so that we can, we get the proper approval? I just see what George is going through, having to do a revote for something that passed.
But they're not doing a revote because of an underwriter.
They did their public notice wrong, Brendan.
Right.
So I guess my question is, do we know for absolute certain that the question is structured exactly how we need it?
So I'm never going to say yes to that question. I
Has
think
it been run by an attorney, or?
it has not been run by an attorney. It can be run by an attorney.
Yeah,
I
we could do that
traditionally
between now and Friday.
do not run them by the attorney unless you ask me to. But we
I think
certainly
we had that one for DPW run by Dan and Chad.
Yep. Yeah, I just don't do it as a matter of course, but we can.
It just says like short-term loan. Like, is that specific enough of a descriptor to be able to actually seek it? Or I don't know. I see, Georgia running into a snafu. I guess it was with their warning, but it can be anything.
Well, I wouldn't keep repeating Georgia's snafu as a
Well,
salient
probably
point.
Nobody's fault, but I mean.
Oh no, it was definitely, I
Okay.
hear somebody's fault, but I mean, it just was, it happens, but I mean, so we can run those terms by, but I guess I wanted to point out that I added some things, like we are planning to use the Infrastructure Development Fund. I did not specify whether it was previously collected and future, because that's a question for you to
And we
answer.
wanna.
I
wanna
added,
use it.
just let me finish for a sec. I added impact fees and I added the word loan. So all three of those really need to be discussed.
The draft we're looking at is, shall the legal voters of the town of St. Albans authorize the select board to spend up to blank using infrastructure development funds, parentheses, local option tax funds, and short-term loan to construct a new town hall to be located near 576, blah, blah, blah.
I added the word impact fees after option tax funds. That should be in draft 2.
Okay, and there's no other funds on hand that we want to hit? No like random accounts or anything?
No.
We used them all for DPW if
Perfect.
they were appropriate, so.
Okay, yeah,
I mean,
perfect.
the only thing we have we have $500,000 in emergency funds.
I think we should hold that.
I think we should hold it, but I mean, it's not defined, its use is not defined, so if we.
No, I wouldn't cash out the emergency reserve. I was just making sure that we didn't have some kind of a random capital reserve. It seems like we have all these capital reserves with 80 grand here and 30 grand there. It's good to know that we wiped them all out.
We had
At the books.
we had a capital project account for a big project and we used that for the salt shed.
Right.
It was like 130,
We spent 120.
120 of it,
And,
yep.
yeah, that's down to $226.
That's the one that for years taxpayers would remember. You were putting away $10,000 to a capital project fund, and we finally stopped doing that because we got this infrastructure development fund. But just in case people want to know where that money went, that's where it went. So the question, I guess, today.
Well, actually, we are continuing to fund it. We put it in the,
In the general fund.
yeah, we are continuing to fund the capital equipment and capital project, which I think is a good thing.
We could use. I mean, that's 10,000 though.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
We
Well,
could
it's
use.
like if the HVAC goes down over at,
Yep.
the fire department, we've hit those funds before. It's like if
Yeah.
you need a quick 20 grand to replace a furnace,
right.
We
it's
could
better
use
to
it.
have it on hand. But
We could use it for equipment, furniture, fixtures, and equipment in the new town hall too, if it passes, so. The question today, though, is I have roughly $1.8 million of local infrastructure funds, local option tax funds. Our balance right now is, absent what's already obligated, about 800,000. We literally have 1.2 in there, but we've obligated 200 for land and 200 for design, which we're spending right now. So that's why we have a balance of 800,000. My question is, we are getting about $250,000 every quarter. Is the select board as a whole comfortable saying that we're going to use the next, if it gets approved, 4 payments of the local option tax? So that's another, million, to apply it to this project.
To reduce the loan amount.
To reduce
as
the
well.
loan amount.
Yeah.
So, in other words, I have $115,000 left of admin impact fees I'd like to use, and then the balance of the LOT fund, and then we have potentially 4 payments happening February, May, August, and November of this year that we could apply towards this project. So we wouldn't have to get a loan. And the loans are the loan rates we got for a short tax anticipation loan was 3%. So, I mean, any large amount of money we can put to reduce the amount of loan obviously will reduce our interest charges. But that's kind of a policy decision for the board.
The question I have is, if we use the upcoming LOT, does that impact our ability to build sidewalks or meet the other things that we wanted to meet in our capital improvement plan?
I mean, it will, but we don't, right now I don't have a whole lot of other projects that are engineered and shelf ready. I mean, Corey and I have been talking about getting a lot of projects shelf ready, basically ready to go on the ballot. That's a good question. So that segues into the reason I'm proposing, although I hate this part, not to build a sidewalk this year, is the one sidewalk we were planning to put on the ballot was Congress Street. And Congress Street, we got engineering estimates for it. City at first said they were putting it in their pool project. Then they said they weren't putting it in the pool project. Because of that, I didn't want to add any more confusion to what we were already asking them to approve. So on the short term, yes, it will affect that, but I don't think in the long term it will, because I think we still have the ability to get shovel ready for all these projects. Because I love the fact that we have a steady funding source for it. So it's a salient point.
Is
I
the
think-
city putting Congress Street in their plan or no?
I mean, Brendan has been talking
Well,
about it. It's
I
changed.
met with Tim, and they're not putting it in. They want us to build it, but the scope of it changes every time I talk to Tim. He just texted me late last week and said, we just made part of it a stone mixed use path, so it should be cheaper for you guys, kind of as a joke, but he was totally serious. So we're definitely not in a place where we can, if we want to respect, their vision for Hardak and build the sidewalk and the path in a way that works for that vision, since they're the one, proposing $5 million bonds to build stuff up there, I would say that we're probably going to have to wait to see what their final pool proposal is. I mean, so here's kind of like my long vision for sidewalks and parks, because we've got a lot of money that we can throw around and get a lot of stuff done. I'm thinking 2022, we need to have like under $1 million, but high 6 figures, like a package that includes 3 or 4 different projects all related to sidewalks and parks. I think that we need to spend the majority of this year figuring out a plan for Cohen Park. The bathhouse there needs to be renovated. It's, we've got that new pavilion that DPW put in that looks great, but we need to add to that. That particular part of the community would enjoy a tennis court, I would think. We could level an area for soccer fields and maybe offer City Rec to be able to take some stress off of Hardak, if that's at all possible. There's all kinds of different opportunities, and if we receive voter approval and can work out some right-of-way issues, we could also, do an extension from the proposed new town hall to the marina sidewalks. Then we'll have to inevitably wait to finish that up to the park, because we'll have to get with V-Trans to do the Route 36 Georgia Shore intersection, which Corey, I think, has reached out to V-Trans to poke them on, and we're trying to figure that out. We were hoping he got on Senate Transportation, but they stuck him on Ag. So we lost that potential pull there. But I wanted to do Congress Street, but it just doesn't make sense if the scope's going to change every week. And then if we take so I guess what I'm saying is every piece of local option tax revenue that we make within the next year, we should plan on putting on the town hall, and then bonding or taking a tax anticipation note for like $1 million to $1.5 million. And then everything after that, we could decide, we're going to put, we capital plan for $250,000 a year in debt service towards the town hall. We can look at what our immediately available projects are and see what the costs are and the obligations there, and then maybe adjust that up to pay that off early while still getting stuff accomplished. It's just there's too much up in the air, not knowing how much we're borrowing, what the debt service is going to look like. But there's a potential if we pick 2 or 3 good projects and figure out, we've got consulting and revenues, consulting and engineering expense lines available to us this year and in the next fiscal year to be able to fund the pre-development costs of all these random projects I just rambled about. But
Can I just say something? I would really like to keep the parks and the sidewalks separate. I don't think that they should be lumped together as one. Parks improvements are important, but sidewalk improvements are important too. And it's not the same thing. And I just feel like now I've been on the board 2 years and many years before coming asking for sidewalks, and there's still no sidewalk going into my 3rd year. And I just would love to see something done. And if we don't have enough time to do Congress Street, which, the possibility is there. We don't have to have it engineered before people vote on it. I think it could still be done. Or maybe we look at that crosswalk from Collins Pearly to the Jolly, where it's so dangerous for kids to cross. I just really feel like we need to do something. It's been not only me asking for it for a long time.
The other, in addition to the projects you talked about, Brendan, I know in our capital improvement plan, we had some equipment for parks that was in there. So I don't know if that's going to impact our, to be able to buy the equipment that we said that we were going to need in the time frame that we said. I also second Jessica's comments around sidewalks. It'd be great to come up with a plan to get moving on that too.
it's just if we're gonna make the decision to town meeting day on March 2nd, which I think we should, we'll also have a discussion on whether or not we're going to mail everybody in town a ballot, which I think we should. And the staff and the town clerk have worked on a plan for that. It's too close to the game line. We're going to have a special meeting Friday to get the number to be able to pass this warning. Tim Vians, Mark Deso, and Carrie and I met at the complex 18 months ago or so, and we had a deep discussion about solving that Jolly crosswalk. And Tim was going to reach out to Jolly's, to the La Quinta, to the school district, and try to get everybody on board. And it was going to be like a Maple Run oriented project. They didn't specifically ask us to take the lead on it, but if that's something that the board wants us to do, is to just go get a number on it and be ready to get the thing done. I'm willing to do that and reignite that conversation with a little bit more aggressiveness. Just saying that we're doing it from a perspective of we're willing to pay for it if we have to get it done. I've been a kid that ran across that road when I probably shouldn't have to get to that Jolly to go buy Dunkin' Donuts when I should have been in the gym. But, I hear you. It's frustrating. We were down 2 administrative positions all fall and still pushed ahead full speed on the town hall. And I think we lost a lot of ground not having that planner. And then AJ does some work with planning, and she had to be the full-time ZA and a part-time teacher at home. So it's a product of the year that we just had, the fact that we can't get anything on. I know the last time we talked about setting a warning, we said it was wrong that we didn't have a sidewalk thing on in the spring, and that we would, and we fell flat on that one. But
What was the estimate for the crosswalk?
I don't know that we even got a hard estimate.
Well, I think we did, but it was I think it was around 250. It seemed really high to us. That's why it
It looked like it included some frills that didn't really need to be in it. I think, if I remember right. But if we want to look at that one, and then, if we get this town hall passed, we'll immediately know we need to connect it at least to the marina. So that's one we'll have to work on right away.
No, I misspoke. I was thinking of the Congress Street sidewalk. That's what we got an estimate on. Brendan's right. We did not get a price on the crosswalk.
But that one, if I remember right, was under 100,000. So that's attainable. I mean, that's within our budget to go get a project done and show people we can put pedestrian infrastructure in place and have an impact, and it'll help kids. And that could be a piece of our puzzle of starting, we keep trying to start the health path with the hardest part being on the sash and that crossing. If we want to get that thing done, maybe we need to focus on the complex to the hospital, and then the hospital to DAC.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Smith is eager to meet with representatives of the town to talk about something. I've got a feeling that it includes designating right-of-way over his cornfields for that path. I think that's a reasonable ask. I know he's offered in the past. So if that's something we want to do, we need to start, putting some time and legal money into getting right-of-way secured, and then we can engineer it from there. But yeah, I guess we got to pick 2 or 3 different projects, and then maybe one big park project, and then go get the thing done.
Honestly, Corey and I talked about doing that with the help of the planning commission, and then a planning commission select board joint meeting in the spring like we normally do. So we need to actually set some specific priorities and then lay out the steps to actually get them done. There was a disconnect, and Jessica's right, from we want these projects done to how much do they cost and can we put them on the ballot. So he and I talked about that about 3 weeks ago. It's a valid point. It just couldn't be done in the last 10 months. We can put Congress Street on there. We can throw a number at it. I just wasn't sure how receptive people would be on top of town hall. They might be very receptive. I don't know.
I would say that we should not just if we do our first project, we got to get it right out of the gate. Because if we ask for money and it's not enough, or the city changes its scope and we don't like it, but we've got approval to fund it, and then it turns into a political mess with them. It just seems like there's too many pitfalls in that one. I mean, I want to do a project, don't get me wrong. If we had a set commitment from the city, this is what we need, and we could take it to, cross consulting, and they could say, this is what we think it might cost. And I'd say, let's put that on the ballot, but we're not, there's too many, variables there to feel confident in asking. It's our first one. If it was like the 5th or 6th one, we had the ball rolling, it might be a different discussion to just throw a number on there and try to get it done. But
Well, how about the crosswalk though? I mean, that one is more affordable. Anybody who's driven up there has probably come close to hitting a kid. I think it'd be an easy one for people to get behind.
That one is a good project, but the thing that slowed it down was the 4 different entities. I mean, unless you're proposing that the town pay for it all, that's what I think slowed Tim down. He said the school would support it, which was a change, which was great.
Nobody wants to pay for it.
Well, yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, the school's not going to have money to pay for it. Their budget's, I'm sure, very, very tight. I really feel like we need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's been so long, and that project is going to prioritize kids' safety. I think it's one that people would get behind.
I just don't know what number. I agree. I love that project too, but what do we put on the ballot for a number? I mean, I don't want to put a non-binding, do you support this crosswalk thing?
Corey wants to say something.
Corey, to see your hand go up.
Well, I was just going to say, I was going to elaborate on what Carrie's been saying. The last planning commission meeting, and what I told him, what we're going to focus on, at least until our April meeting, is reviewing the sidewalk plans. And again, I'm new, so I don't want to speak out of turn here, but there's been a lot of 2 steps forward, maybe a step or 2 backwards in the sidewalk planning over the last couple of years. And, I think they're going to wrap their heads around it. And, Carrie and I spoke, and I think smart, and I totally get it, just because there's not sidewalks necessarily going down doesn't mean work's not getting done, but we need to spend, I think, our resources this year on sidewalks, getting 4 or 5 projects ready. and shovel ready to go, whether it's this, the scoping study we're talking about, Jess, or, really just understanding what the priorities are for the community, and coming up with those handful of projects, whatever they are. I read a VTrans article or report yesterday. They quote $195 a linear foot for a sidewalk. I don't know what numbers we based it on. Was it Ned stuff was based on a 2014 study. VTrans just updated it. You know what I mean? So I just don't think I don't have anyway. I mean, you guys make the policy. I don't have any comfort level of actually being able to execute building a sidewalk, except telling Alan to go put concrete down this summer. And I don't know if that's necessarily what we want to do at this point. So I apologize for the past, but I think going forward, one of our big things with the planning commission is to actually have them by like November come together and have the full plans together for a full project to present to a select board that you guys can review and then put on a ballot, at this time of the year. But, we're a year away from that, unfortunately.
Well, maybe the plan would be that we could catch up and do a couple next year, and maybe one large and a couple small. We certainly have small segments of sidewalk we could build that connect things.
If we were to do that by using down the future payments that we're going to get from the LOT, is that going to set us back? Are we going to have to wait until we build up a reserve again with the LOT before we can make moves on these projects?
Yeah.
Well, two years worth of, I think what do we designate? $100,000 a year. So 2 years worth of sidewalk money is one quarterly payment. So if we spend it down until spring 2022, until the construction's over and the furniture's bought, then we get funding in our hand in summer 2022 and can, maybe loan the infrastructure reserve some general fund money if we need to make a transition. I guess when you have that much revenue and only $250,000 a year in debt to allocate to it, if the town hall is even approved,
right?
Like all these projects are 200 grand here, 68,000 here, 110,000 there. Like you can do a $500,000 project and accomplish Congress Street, something in the Bay, the crosswalk by Collins Pearly, and buy a bunch of right-of-ways if you have figures on that and people want money for them. I think most people will probably donate them.
Or you could do a compromise of what Brendan's suggesting and what Aaron is talking about, and use only 4 payments, only 2021 LOT payments, so that when the LOT payments come in 2022, starting in February, you're building it back up again already.
Right.
I feel like that's a compromise. The project is going to go until February or March of 2022, but that does not mean we have to use that payment for the project itself. I'd like to start building it up again to do that. I think it'd be good, frankly.
If we're the community that's known as paying cash for things instead of bonding them out, we're going to start getting approvals, especially if we can knock out these long-standing issues in the first couple years. And the other thing is, we just spent the last 2.5, 3 years of like 90% of our administrative staff time dedicated to special projects to DPW and the town hall. And, if we hire on a construction manager to come in and help oversee the town hall, we could essentially be freeing up the director of operations and the town manager to solely focus on smaller initiatives that don't cost as much, like sidewalks. Like that's the only thing on your plate. So it's like we're tackling a bunch of deferred maintenance on municipal assets by building new ones. And it's that in combination with the pandemic and being down staff for 3 months was enough to put us off our feet, I guess, for this.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor it, but it just like the public perception, I think, is we put a lot of money into a DPW building for staff and equipment. Now we're putting a lot of money into another building for staff. It's like we need, and the parks are a good example of that. We've put out things for the community, but it's like we've been promising for so long to do a sidewalk. So if I'm the only one pushing it, I will drop it and move on. But the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I just wanted to say, I think if it's, I hear what Carrie and Brendan are saying around, what staff was able to accomplish in a pandemic with everything going on with fewer staff. So I think I can understand why we don't have a shovel ready or have even proposal numbers for a sidewalk. I think, I can feel disappointed about that, but not put blame on the staff. And it's just a disappointment that COVID just brings to us. But I do feel like with everyone on board and with Corey here and with the planning commission kind of ramping back up, I think that they could get a lot done. Just knowing how quickly we got through some of the stormwater work that we did, having a solid team and having a solid staff member makes a huge difference. And I think that they could get a lot done this year if that's the direction that we want to go. So I think even if we don't have a sidewalk on this project, I think we can start talking again with the public, and that might be a good way of engaging the public about sidewalks and saying, hey, this is happening. The planning commission's working on this. If you want to hear about it, come on down to the planning commission, log into Zoom, and it could be a way of getting excitement for sidewalks, for what we're going to do in the next year. So that's my thought on that. But I think I'm for our capital improvement program, just for the equipment for the Parks Department. Are we going to run into any issues with that, with drawing down over the next year, 2 years for, I think there was a plow we had, maybe that was under 2021. So 22, there's a trailer and another trailer. So I don't know if that's where we were anticipating getting the funds for that. Are we going to be, and also there were some Stonehouse bathroom improvements and park improvements. So are we delaying those by a year as well, while we build the town hall?
We have, I think it was like $86,000 on hand to renovate the Stonehouse. So we've got quite a few. We've got an electrical project and some plumbing work, and then maybe some starting on some cosmetic stuff to do there with funds on hand. Alan, do you want to speak to the parks equipment question, or you feel like you're in a place where you can speak to that?
As far as the trailers, we're good for a couple, 3 years. The plow, that's a single cab truck that is used. That was supposed to have been replaced this year, but knowing that town hall was going on, we postponed that. So electrical, just so you guys know, we did buy some electrical lights and stuff like that, and hopefully over the winter that'll be being installed. But we do, like Brendan says, have 80-something thousand for the Stonehouse. So that
We also probably need to look at getting the CIP passed by the voters. And we set the expectation that every time we touch that money, it's with their consent. So that probably is a little bit of a red flag that in 2022, we need to look at exactly where we fell with the town hall, figure that out, set it in stone. These are the payments for the notes, adjust anything that needs to be adjusted, and then put that on the ballot, and then maybe have a tertiary article of, maybe one cost to do 3 sidewalk projects. And then maybe another article for like a Cohen Park improvement, or you save that till 2023. Yeah, I think we probably do need to, given the precedent we set, to spend the money on equipment like that. We're going to need to ask the voters anyway. So we couldn't utilize that as a resource tomorrow if we wanted to, without catching some agita for it. So we want to talk about Article 5. I see Alan and Corey and Carrie got together and created a vehicle list and a depreciation schedule and annual replacement cost, like we had asked, just like we do with the $125,000 for the fire department. So Corey, Carrie, Alan, anybody want to take the lead on that, walk us through it? And then maybe we can talk about why it might be a good idea to defer that one.
I can speak to how I came to the numbers. The third page, effectively, I was, I think this was my first project on board as the director of operations, was just looking at a replacement schedule of vehicles. And then Alan had the cost, and I built an inflation rate of 1.5% a year. It's adjustable on here, but want to do something reasonable, but understanding that a truck that we're saving up for 10 years from now is not going to cost what it costs today. And then I kind of built out a variance to see if we could come up with an average number over the next 10 years to meet our $2.5 million need. And we could, but the issue was we were running effectively we were going to run a deficit in this fund the way the needs are in 2022 in out years. So if we just went with an average cost of what was needed each year or of that year. So basically to front haul it, you need about $320,000 the first 2 years, and they commit $242,500 for the remaining 8 years to meet the replacement schedule needs. There is a factor not built in here. Is we just, talking with Alan, we weren't comfortable putting a salvageable number on what we could salvage. So, that number could come down a little bit, but, we wanted to give you the most conservative scenario to be able to fund our DPW needs. And this also doesn't include any growth. So as we build sidewalks, what do we need for equipment for sidewalks as we, potentially have more roads that might come on? It doesn't include any of that. So this is just to maintain the current pace of things and keep them on a nice replacement schedule.
So we came
And
up with,
how much do we already put aside every year? Like 50 something thousand or 75,000?
For DPW,
Yeah.
it's like 38,000.
it was
yeah.
largely to pay off a note. I
No,
thought, well, I didn't think we did it every year. We never really asked taxpayers just to
Yeah.
support we have a couple of smaller sinking funds we asked for.
35,000.
it's 35,000, and years ago, it was like put on the ballot to, let me give you an example, save like $750 for 10 years
Mhm.
for
Right.
a piece of equipment. And so I've honored those articles, and now as the years are going by, those are falling off, obviously. And so we're putting away about $38,000, $35,000 a year now. But maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we put it in front of the voters to undesignate those funds. Those funds could be used for any specific equipment. So that's what we're putting away annually now.
It's just,
And as those years go away, that number's gonna drop, and it
Right.
will drop to zero.
and
You
obviously
need to,
with the
like-
38,000 isn't enough either.
No,
So if it's 350,000 or whatever the number is to be raised by taxes, so we got 3 options. The best option, in my opinion, is to take the $350,000 a year, whatever the number ends up being, and then add it. Has anybody ever had a tax bill in another town where your fire district's broken out, your DPW replacement is
yeah,
broken out?
Alberg is like that.
Yes, that's the exact, and then the town my camp is in does the same thing. So you have all these tiny little rates, and then it adds up to 1 at the end, and you see what you're paying for. That's really effective as a taxpayer who doesn't live in 2 communities that do that practice, and I pay taxes in them. It makes it easier to write the check. So the thought was with Corey that we start doing the same thing, and maybe do that with fire too, and remove that from our rate and put that on the tax bill so people know it's more transparent in the end, but it also doesn't make it look like our rate goes up 4 cents overnight, so we can start adequately funding stuff. I mean, our only other option is to not do this and then start asking, a piece of equipment by piece of equipment and go back to the old antiquated way. If anybody has a boring night, go to the town's website, look up our old town meeting day, the last 10 years worth of town meeting day election results and warnings, and go look at the questions that the select board used to ask the community for approval. $2,500 at Cohen Park and $7,500 for this. And this for so much a year for a period of this year for just 1 piece of equipment. And we've tried to really make a concerted effort to shrink that down. I mean, this year we'll probably only have 4 or 5 articles. There are years where they had 18 articles. So it's really going to be, it's a better budgetary practice. It's more in line with what we do with the fire department, and it keeps us in a position where we never pay interest on a piece of equipment ever. We always own it clear.
And it's only that scary number proposed for 2 years, and then it drops down to a less scary number of 242. But
Yeah, you levy it high, you drop it, and people think they're getting a deal. But, you know, it's something that we have to do. But it's whether or not, so my question is, do we have to do it this year, or do we have enough cash on hand to get us through the next couple of years so that we can start it in 2022 and essentially avoid having to raise property taxes by like 3.5, 4 cents in the pandemic, while also asking for approval to build a $3+ million municipal.
I mean, we think we can make wait one more year. We're going to have to do it next year, whether it's splitting out the tax rate or adding it to our tax rate. We believe, based on the replacement schedule, we just need to do it so that.
Either way,
Yeah,
if you
we have to
budget
do
it
it next year.
or we
Yep.
ask the taxpayers for it next year,
Right,
it will be in our tax rate.
right. We're going to need it next year.
So the idea is use this warning as keep it short and simple, ask for the building and the money to run the town, and then next year come back for the nickel and dime stuff. And this is a big nickel to ask for, but it's probably less than 10% of what we're asking for of the to build the new town hall. So we'll be able to tell people, you know, we've got new DPW, new town hall, and now we can tackle this priority. But so how does everybody feel about it? Stan, Jonathan, Aaron, Jessica?
I'm good with the short version
The short version of the warning.
of the fewer items on the ballot.
I think short is certainly good from a messaging point of view. I think part of me is hesitant to want to delay putting aside funds for, for the DPW work. But if we're hearing from staff that we can make it another year, then I'm willing to trust I'm going to trust their judgment. If we can make it another year. But I worry that we're putting a lot in we're doing more than just the town hall, but it does make me a little, I think the other piece of the town hall is, I wonder if we're going to get questions if our LOT comes in lower than expected, how do we meet the payments that we want to make? Is it going to just delay? Are we going to have to dip into the LOT in 2022 to get where we wanted to go to reduce payments? Are we just going to be okay with whatever we get with LOT, even if it's lower? I mean, likelihood is probably not, but.
The CIP that we did, I think, had us only spending like 75 or 80% of our forecasted revenue. And that was with the $250,000 a year dedicated to the town hall debt service. So we could essentially, see a 15-20% decrease in revenue. And we know we didn't see anything even close to that during the pandemic. So it would take a real act of God to make that happen.
I also actually estimated pretty conservatively. I did not go to the top end of what we were receiving quarterly. I mean, May, for instance, 200,000 is what I was proposing. So I'm not trying to get us down to zero.
Well, it's every year the tax department gets a little bit better at collecting online sales taxes.
Correct.
These communities like Highgate, I tried to tell their select board, you need money, you have $1 million budget, you don't want to raise your tax rate, put in an LOT. And they say, I don't want to harm the McEwens. Well, people are driving to St. Albans to spend 7% on the tax rate. They're going in all these there's like 20 something towns across the state. And it doesn't have anything to do with your commercial front. It's all the residents, every resident spends probably $2,000 a year online. And that's all subject to online sales taxes. And the tax department's getting better at collecting it. So like the city, they originally were told by a really good economist that the towns used before, Jeff Carr, that they were going to get 650,000. Now they're telling their voters they were at 800,000. So it really doesn't have a thing to do with your tax receipts. As people move to spending online, you capture it there. I mean, everything that they buy online from the comfort of their home, you collect that 1% tax on. it's better than them going to another town and buying stuff, I guess. I don't know. So silver linings.
Okay. I think we can spend the LOT money conservatively, and if something horrific happened in the middle of a build project, I think that would be a legitimate use to use a little bit of the emergency money. You know, you can't stop, otherwise it costs you a lot more money to restart the project, so. We're doing everything conservatively though, or estimating, I should say. So, I guess on Articles 5 and 6.
How do we want to structure Friday? Now, the majority of this board for the first, majority of the board works. I know Stan also works. Everybody here has a job, which is the first time in a while. So I guess I'd hate to ask staff to stay late on a Friday, but I guess Jessica, Aaron, Jonathan, Stan, what do we think about Friday afternoon?
I'm available. You just gotta text me whenever. If you don't know, like, I can make it work.
We're basically coming in. We need 3 of us to come in and set and approve the warning and sign it so that we can get ballots ordered.
We have to set a time today, so if it's something like 3 o'clock works, 3:30 works, let me know.
That's fine.
Fine,
3? Then?
fine.
I guess Aaron, Jessica, does that work at all?
I've got meetings from 2:30 to 4:30, but depending on what's on the agenda, I might be able to get out of it. But I mean, I think today I could probably say that based on what we're talking about tonight, I would be okay if 5 and 6 were not on the ballot. I'm not like thrilled about it, but for, understanding where we're at. Yeah.
Friday's a little tough for me. I really only have a window between 2 and 3 that I'm free. And I guess I'm with Aaron. I mean, I trust, that staff will get the sidewalk bundle together and we'll go for it in the future.
I mean, I'm here all afternoon, Jessica. If you want to have this at like 2:30, we could do that too.
Or else, even a better idea, as long as you have 3 members that are approving it, I'm not gonna order ballots until Tuesday. I'd like to have all 5 signatures on it. So ladies, you could come in whenever you're free, say Monday.
Okay, and just sign it then, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
and that would make it easy for your work schedules.
that'd be perfect.
Okay, so Jonathan, Stan, and myself, we're gonna make it happen Friday. What do you want to do? 2:30, Carrie? 2:30, Jonathan, or is later in the day better for you?
Doesn't
So
You
let's-
work-
whatever.
Okay, so why don't we do 2:30 Friday?
Okay.
And then I guess the only thing that can come up is if the cost proposal comes in way out of whack.
Will
So,
you?
right.
yeah, but we're gonna know like at noon.
If that's the case, if it sounds like it's going to be more of a substantive conversation beyond what we talked about here, please text me and I will move meetings to make sure I can be a part of it.
Right, okay, so by noon, we're gonna tell everybody if it's within, we're thinking anywhere between 3 and 4 would be a window that I would consider to be in the realm of what we're thinking. Anything over 4, I think we gotta get the group together and maybe have a discussion with the cost experts about whether or not the pandemic's driving up the price and if we should hold off to get pricing back in line. Because I got a thing from my housing manufacturer today, a graph of lumber and OSB rates, and it basically looks like an upside down W. It went up, and then it levied off at the holidays and came down around Christmas, and now it's swinging back up, and it's forecasted to go higher than it did last fall, at least according to their experts. So I don't know. I'm prepared for anything. So. We'll shoot for 2:30, and if something out of whack comes in at noon, we will call and text Jessica and Aaron, and we'll try to make it happen. And if we can't get one or either of you, we can look at another date and time. Just not have that meeting and warn something else. But I don't know that we'd have time to do that. So I guess we're looking at 2:30 Friday.
Well, yes, because if that happens on Friday, we can continue it to Monday.
Right.
If we have to, if it's really, if there's a lot going on.
Okay.
But Monday is the drop dead date. Like, we have to have it one way or the other figured out on Monday.
So Anna, you'll need signatures from Jessica and I if we don't attend Friday. Is that
Yeah.
sound? Yep. Okay. So I've got time on Monday. I'll figure that out with you. Thanks.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
While we're talking about the warning and elections, Anna, were you able to get in touch with Maple Run to see if they're good with what you and I had talked about for an election strategy?
They are not requiring, as a school district, or a separate municipality, they are not requiring us to mail every single voter a ballot. And that means, like, if they were to have required that, every Fairfield, St. Albans City, and St. Albans Town would have to mail everybody a ballot. So that lets St. Albans City and Fairfield off, because they are not mailing every single person a ballot. They're doing it by request. If we choose to mail everybody a ballot, I believe, Corey, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's up to the select board now to go in that direction.
So what Anna and Corey and I had talked about, and Carrie, is keeping the date 3/2. We pushed all fall, pedal to the metal, down 2 staff persons. We're coming in at the last business day before with our cost estimate. It's all lining up, and it was a lot of hard work. So we're thinking keep it 3/2, give people a sense of normalcy. And then if you watch the inaugural address today, the president, Joe Biden, and our new female vice president, Kamala Harris, they both say that March could be one of the deadliest months of the pandemic. So, and our case counts are high from the holidays, and who knows if that's ever going to go back down until the vaccine runs over. So my proposal, and I've talked with Anna, and we think we can do it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anna, is that we mail everybody a ballot, we keep track of the costs, and we get reimbursed from the state, because that's part of the deal too. We only have 4 questions to ask, but one's the most important question we've asked in a couple of years. And, we think we can do it.
True. We do believe we can do that.
I mean, it's all about stepping up and meeting the challenge. That's all it is. We can do it.
We talked about Alan had purchased some desks that we've used for socially distanced retirement parties for Tad and Becky this summer. We could work with Alan to set up a socially distanced workspace and call in the BCA to help us stuff ballots. Corey told me today in a conversation, he goes, this is important. Everybody deserves access to their election. And if I got to go downstairs for 2 days to stuff ballots, if Carrie approves it, I'm willing to do that. So that's the attitude of the team. And you heard Anna, it's all about challenges. So.
The attitude from the community is they want to vote absentees. We're getting requests already.
That's important feedback, really.
I just think too, it's another opportunity. I just have a feeling there's movement in the legislature to make all elections go this way anyway in the long run. So the more cracks at it that we get, we get to smooth it, iron out any issues. But I just, I think the team did a great job in the November election, and I think, we should offer it to our voters, from my perspective.
So if we do this route, Anna, can we mail everybody a school ballot with our ballot, even though the district isn't requiring? Yeah, I want everybody involved. It's been a tough year. People, if we tell everybody the ballot's coming, we've got our direct mail campaign for the town hall all timed around a February 10th mailer. So we've got, a mail out of ballots. So we've got time to get it together. It's, I have full confidence in Anna, her, Lisa, her team, our staff. There's no reason we shouldn't do this, and we'll get reimbursed for it. So do we need we probably need a full-blown vote to satisfy. So why don't we, it's going to be our regular meeting in 3 minutes. So I guess under other business, we didn't warn it, but I mean, my God, it's open meeting law, and the law just got signed by the governor like yesterday or the day before. So I say we just make the motion and pass the thing so we can get the ballots out without another special meeting.
Well, you always have the authority to amend your agenda, and that's, we're talking
Okay.
about budget. You're not even really, and the town warning, that's not really even necessary. So I think it's within your purview at the point.
So when we get together with a regular meeting in a couple of minutes, can we amend the agenda to include a new agenda item 11 after other business to be setting our town meeting day motion? So we'll do that. We'll amend the agenda with a motion at the start of the meeting, and then at the end of the meeting, we'll have a vote. We'll pass it, and then we'll let the world know with a press release tomorrow that St. Albans Town is mailing everybody a ballot. And we challenge other communities to rise to meet the same needs that we are, because I know the city doesn't plan on mailing everyone a ballot, and they have a huge staff in comparison to us. So I don't know. You think with all of their debt spends that they're proposing in the middle of a pandemic, they would want everybody to get a ballot, but not my department. A lot of people think I work at City Hall, but I don't.
All right, so are we ready to move to the next?
Yeah, 6:28, that's early enough. I think everybody that wants to be here is here. So I'm seeing a Kate. Jen Gray, I know, is taking minutes, and she likes to have a first and last name for the record. So if whoever is logged into Zoom could either send Jen a message via Zoom or let us know just your first and last name for our minutes, that would be great. So let's call the regular meeting to order, and on a historic day today, the swearing in of our first female vice president, the first nationally elected female in our nation's history. With that in our mind, let's take the pledge on Stan's lead.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with life, liberty, and justice for all.
Stan, I gotta say, I'm gonna miss hearing your pledge. Might have to have you call into the start of every meeting to lead us in it, even after you're not on the board anymore. Well, with that in mind, Stan, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different warrants. Do you want to run us through the gambit like we have been the last few meetings?
Can we pause just to amend your agenda?
Yeah, see my attention span. I'm on the cusp. I'm either a millennial or a Gen Zer, depending what BuzzFeed article you read. So my attention span generationally is just not.
So if we could have a motion to amend the agenda to add town meeting day confirmation, that would be great.
Yeah, so a new agenda item 11 after other business. You're right, what Carrie said, town meeting day.
Yep, just so moved, and second, it's approved.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Jonathan and Aaron. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right. We have amended the agenda. Thank you, Carrie, for catching me every time I fall. I have to amend my letter for the town report.
I'll start with the general warrants dated 1/20/2021. 90 invoices totaling $80,259.95. Start out with the street crime unit, $28,650. Amcare, $12,391. Cass Environmental, $7,880. This was for the phase 2 of the future town hall site. And as they reported, the site is clean. St. Albans area watershed, aquatic nuisance, money that we send to the watershed, $5,976. Sand for the roads from Sand and Floss, $2,450. We've had 6 tax overpayments, checks returned for the amount of $2,841. These 11 invoices total 75% of the total money spent. So I will make a motion that we accept the general warrants in the amount of $80,259.95. Payroll.
So we got a motion, Stan, for the general fund. Let's, do we have a second on that?
Yep.
Aaron seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Stan.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions for Stan about the general fund warrant before we move on to payroll? Hearing none, go ahead, Stan, sorry.
Okay, the next one I'll do is payroll for week 12/28/20 through January 3rd, 21, $56,653.48. Just a quick look at that. It was 14 pages. We typically run around 8 pages, and this was due to the fire department payments for the guys. I don't believe there's any ladies left in the fire department. There
Not
used
right
to
now,
be.
no, it's a quarterly payment.
Yeah, so that's where the additional money is spent. Well spent money too. Second payroll, January 4th, 21 through January 10th, 21. That was only 8 pages for the amount of $18,371.64. Unless there's any questions, I'll make a motion to pass to accept these 2 payroll weeks.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Stan?
aye.
Yeah, there's some other warrants.
Yeah, we have the impact fee warrant for $140. Last week we approved the impact fee warrant, or the last meeting, for $7,400. This is for photographs done by Armin Messier, and it is coming out of the impact fee. So it's $140. I'd make a motion that we accept this warrant for $140 impact fees.
Second.
Jonathan, you win the race. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next one is infrastructure development warrant for $7,456.80. This is for the engineering work that's currently being done over at our new town hall site. It's Ruggiano Peterson Consulting, Sanborn, Head and Associates. They do the geotechnical. What's the BPF input? I didn't get that. I missed that for the 200.
Oh, that legal.
Huh?
Legal.
Legal. Oh, yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
That's Dan O'Rourke and
Bergeron
Company,
Paradise, yeah.
$225. So we had $200,000. We're taking $7,456.80 out of that $200,000. I would make a motion that we approve this amount of $7,456.80. Unless there's any questions.
Jonathan, wow, quick on the draw. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, there's one more, I think.
Yes, industrial park warrant dated 1/20/21. Sewage pump, $647.36. The sign going into the park, the lights on it, $25.43. And the road lights, $49.07. This is all to Green Mountain Power for $721.86. I would make a motion that we approve the industrial park warrant for the total amount of $721.86.
Second it.
Second.
Jessica beat Jonathan. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, so that was 6 warrants. Stan, you're the man.
I be the man.
So we've got some minutes in front of us. Let me scroll down here to the whole budget packet. Okay, so anybody have any corrections?
Brendan, I
For the-
think it'll be easy to first approve your regular meeting minutes in a separate motion from the stack of the special meeting minutes. So just do your regular meeting first and then do the special ones in a separate motion, please.
Okay, let's follow Jen's instructions. And we thank her for the instructions. So we've got our regular meeting Monday, January 4th. Does anybody have any corrections or concerns, or would anyone like to make a motion to approve that?
Make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes for January 4th.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we've got the 11th and the 4th. We don't have to approve, I don't think, because there wasn't a quorum present. The
That's not
28th.
true, Brendan, it was warned, and because we warned the meeting, I have to do minutes.
Okay,
I got that information from VLCT.
I can't, how does a quorum of it vote if a quorum wasn't present? Like, how do we pass the minutes
You still
without having?
can, we've gotten legal opinion that you still can do it. It's not preferred, but you can,
I don't prefer to do it. I mean,
but you can confirm that those minutes appear to be accurate.
yeah, I'm fine with passing them on consensus. It's just like, I don't.
Yep, I know.
Yep, that's good for me.
Okay, so they look fine. Does anybody have any concerns about all those special meeting minutes? And thank you for doing that for us, for looking into that and making sure we covered ourselves.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it very much. Okay, so that's
There
it
was
for,
one where we had a quorum. I don't know if that makes a difference. Looks like.
yeah, we did have one.
Yeah, the November 30th meeting, I believe, was a quorum. I believe that was the only time that Jonathan, Stan, and Brendan were there.
Okay, Stan, do you want to make a motion to accept the minutes of our special meeting on November 30th, and then Jonathan, could you second, and then we'll pass it, the three of us?
Perfect.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting, special meeting dated November 30th, 2020.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote. Okay, there we go. I vote to make it 3-0, and then we got 2 that couldn't vote because they weren't there. I thought that was the prerequisite to be able to vote on minutes, but things change. So now we're on to public comment. Is anybody here to make a public comment? Give it a couple seconds for people to be able to unmute. Okay, seeing none. We've got our 2021 certificate of highway mileage. We need to make a motion to approve it. Harbor View Phase 3, which we approved adding as a town road, has been added to it. That seems to be the only change. Does anybody have any questions, or would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the updated certificate of mileage.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, Carrie, town manager's report. We've got some good news on the Phase 1 and 2 on the new town hall property.
We did, as Stan alluded to earlier, we did have an environmental assessment done on the Brown lot. I'm glad Jackie's on this call too. She's aware of this, and it came back good. So we did a Phase 1 and Phase 2. Environmental site assessment, ESA, is what we often refer to it as. So if we start getting acronym crazy, that's what we're talking about. But that was great news that it came back clean, despite what some people were thinking. I think sometimes we tend to err on the negative when we shouldn't. So that's good news. Right now, just to give folks an update, I mean, we did agree to put the town hall project on our town meeting day ballot, town meeting day warning. So that's what we've been doing for the past month or two. Nothing has changed on that. If the board knows, but if anyone's joining that hasn't been listening to this. The second item on here that I don't need to go in, you don't need a decision necessarily today, but one thing that we are doing on the town hall project is after we've gotten this DD or design development phase done, is to look forward to the next phase, which is when they start creating the construction documents or the CD phase. But while we're also doing that, Sam Ruggiano and I and Jesse Robbins were applying to the Development Review Board for a permit. So hopeful that we get permission to move forward from the voters. We are seeking a hearing on our own Development Review Board for February 11th. Sam Ruggiano and Jesse Robbins from FFF will be there to answer questions. So that's kind of an exciting next step. We're going to go before our own zoning board and hopefully get approval to move forward. So when we started talking about doing that, our construction management, our team was talking about maybe changing the construction delivery system that we were using moving forward. I had originally thought I'd get into the real weeds here, but I think I'm not going to do that today. But Stan and I had a presentation, more or less, it was informal, but from Jesse Robbins and a few of other members of our team explaining that if we didn't do the necessarily traditional construction method that everyone thinks about, which is often the bid build or design bid build stage, that if we moved and considered a construction management delivery system, it might save us money, might get the builder or the GC and the construction manager in the process earlier. We would have we'd have the ability to save money, and it might even make it go a little bit faster. So I talked to Hunter Gomez about that at our meeting yesterday, and he is planning to come to the select board and answer questions about what he's done for us over the last month or two, and also how to move forward. So he's planning in the middle of February to come to a select board meeting and probably do a much more thorough job of explaining that process than I just did. But the good news is there's options for us. And Jesse said that they've done some work for the state. I don't know if it was just V-Trans, but definitely the state. And a lot of the state contracts now go to use this delivery method because it tends to save money in the long run. So it takes it's different. So I'm not used to doing it this way, but it was rather appealing. I don't know if Stan wants to add to that.
You've covered it pretty good, Carrie. It's just with the construction manager, you're all on the same side of the table. Because he goes out and hires the electrical, the air people, the carpenters. He contacts and he gets the best prices, and the costs will be lower, we believe, from what we understand.
Well, I guess with the CM form, they tell you up in advance how much they're going to charge for overhead versus when you do a GC, their overhead charges are sometimes double what.
Change order is about half of percentages wise,
Yep.
what they charge compared to a general manager, general contractor. I think it's the right way to go.
Yeah, so, I don't pretend to be a construction manager, but it was very appealing. Many of the pros and cons, and most of them were pros, to do this, if we get approval to move forward to do it in this manner. But I'd feel better and a lot higher comfort level of having Hunter Gomez explain that to you all.
Yes.
So he's planning on coming in February.
Perfect.
And so to that end, I have one more request. Sorry, that's a bit of a surprise. I'd like to request that the select board waive the DRB fees for the town to go through the process. It's not something I have the authority to do, but I don't think we should charge ourselves to do that.
Agreed. It seems like a waste of a check. So if somebody would like to make a motion to waive any applicable fees.
I'll make a motion to waive any applicable fees for the construction of the new town hall at the Georgia Shore Road, anything that has to go through our St. Albans Town fee board.
So this is basically, it's one motion to waive any fee that could come up too. So I would say that this is a good enough thing to have on the record to be able to say if we have another fee in the future. The way Stan's structured his motion, I think will carry us through. And it's definitely the right way of going about it, I think. So does anybody want to make a second to Stan's motion?
I think I did.
Perfect. Thank you, Aaron. I missed it. Usually I'm always watching the three to see who makes it first. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Perfect.
Awesome, thank you. The next item on here was a COVID or pandemic update. We are still open by appointment. It seems to be working well for us. People are making appointments when they need to. We're continuing with the business at Town Hall, and doing it fairly safely. Safely, I should say. There's no qualifier there. What I would like to point out, though, is in the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot more expenses than there are ongoing right now. And Jen did a fabulous job documenting them. Our department heads did too, Alan in the fire department. So we just received and have cash in hand of almost $19,000 as a reimbursement from FEMA. So Jen, owe you a round of applause because dealing with FEMA is painful, but necessary at this point. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So just know taxpayers, we're getting as much money as we can back. There are
We
federal
do the same
funds.
thing in mailing these ballots out too when we have that discussion.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll continue.
Dedicated staff. That's what keeps the wheels turning.
So the next item C, I started to label these so I could refer to them more appropriately, but our FY22 budget, as we discussed at length in our earlier work session, is ready for approval from the select board to present to our taxpayers. Usually ask for a motion to approve that and the warning, but we are going to have a meeting later this week. Likely Friday at 2:30 to discuss the final warning because we're still waiting for the cost for our town hall. So I guess I'll take a motion on the budget, but the final warning won't be approved until Friday likely.
Anybody have any questions about the budget specifically before we
Sure.
move to make any motions?
I think if we look at the budget, there was a $53,000 ad, maybe we want to talk about it. And there was a negative $1,000 on,
Oh, the county budget.
yes.
From the last time we talked, the budget, I did add, Corey worked pretty hard at analyzing what our possible own stormwater costs would be for the utility. So we estimated, qualify that, we estimated it at about $53,000 a year. And then we also conversely put $53,000 in our revenues because I'm sure that in-kind services will probably exceed that amount, but that's a wash basically on our expenses. Expenses wash out the revenue, the revenues, vice versa. And
I
then
had a question, sorry
Yeah.
about that budget line. I think we had talked and structuring the stormwater utility separately, and I don't know if listing stormwater utility revenue on this in the town budget, if that's a complication.
Corey, you want to pick that answer up? You explained it to me once already today.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. One, we're going to have to borrow money from the town to get the stormwater utility up and going. And I'm projecting the budget to be, we're probably going to need to borrow more than 53,000. And 53,000 is also an estimate on if we lower the rate, basically at the rate when you guys talked at the $65 ERU, our fee would be closer to $80,000. But because to get to the budget that we think we need in the first year of the stormwater utility, we think the rate is going to come down into at least the mid 40s, if not the low 40s, when we get our final measurement. So that's why I'm comfortable with the 53. But I think however you guys want to move it, but in my mind, roughly, I think, because I don't expect any money coming in from the stormwater till like September, or at least I'm waiting for last cost stuff there. But if we hire somebody for April, we're gonna have all those costs leading up through. So I'm thinking we're gonna need to borrow about 60,000 from somewhere to get the utility going, and then it just becomes an inter-fund loan payback for the first year, and then I see in year 2 us making a direct payment.
But to your question directly, Aaron, Anna and I talked about that. She's actually meeting with Swanton, who has a utility, to discuss how specifically we put that in our chart of accounts as an enterprise or utility fund. We just did it as a placeholder, but we may not use it at all because we're just gonna, Brendan's point at our last meeting was well taken, so we're gonna make sure we don't spend even $1 without consulting other municipalities.
Great.
Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, I think our highways, town highways, have to pay in to this.
The stormwater utility?
Yes.
Yes, I think that's what I intended for that
That's what
line.
that, part of that
Yeah.
money is for us to pay back ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we are investigating exactly how to do it so we don't combine funds.
At the end of the day, I've been fairly accurate the last couple of years of predicting what a budget does to a tax rate as far as increase or decreases go. I think this one puts us up between 2 and 3 cents. It's a substantial increase when you look at a rate. It's like an 8% increase probably, but if you look at the fact that $350,000 worth of an increase is just in our policing costs alone in one contract, then that drops about $100,000 the very next year. I think that goes from 1.2 to like 1.1 after we get the cruisers and whatnot bought. And it levels out there for a little while and goes back up. So I guess we've had this discussion a million times, but in case anyone's listening, we've level funded just about every department except parks. We realized this year that every investment we make in our parks is well taken, and we're getting a big bang for our buck, so we're continuing to invest there. But our department heads and our manager and our clerk presented us with and our fire chief presented us with a fairly level funded budget. So we're looking at, compared to last year, an extra roughly $400,000 in total cost, but we were talking about being able to use $250,000 instead of $100,000 for a prior year fund balance. So that extra $150,000 comes off that total, which puts us to $250,000 extra to be raised by taxes. And then any growth in our grand list would attack that figure. And as we know, we have a $1 billion grand list, the largest in the county. So 2.5 cents, 250,000 on a $1 billion grand list. It's easy math. It's 2.5 cents. So I'm predicting anywhere from low 2s to, if we end up not being able to use as much as we think we will, which is an improbability, it could be as much as 3 cents. So it's in the middle of a pandemic, for having to take like a 60% increase on our police line. It's not a bad budget, and I feel like as a conservative, it's as fiscally sound as possible.
Any other questions? Oh, the county budget Stan mentioned. I got the draft number I received in December was off by about, I thought it was about $3,000. So the county budget came in at about $3,000 more than the previous year, but is still less than last year. No, it came out $3,000 less than the number I gave you guys in December, but it is less than last year's rate. So that's the budget for the courthouse, and that budget actually pays part of the sheriff's, by statute, it's required to pay part of that budget too.
Carrie and Corey, one thing I read in the Courier is that the city's cutting its annual contribution to restorative justice by 50%. Can you stay tapped into those circles and see what they're going to do to cover that funding gap? Because that program keeps a lot of people who would otherwise be incarcerated or left a twist in the wind in a structured restorative justice environment. And if a municipality with a stronger set of books needs to come forward and start funding something, I want to be in the position to have that conversation if we have to.
Yes, we'll look into it.
Thank you. Well, does anybody want to make a motion to adopt draft 5 of the FY22 proposed budget?
We'll need to say the amount too.
That amount is $5,195,068.
I'll make a
Which is-
motion to approve the draft 5 of the town budget for a total of $5,195,068. This is for budget fiscal year 2022.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jessica. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I'm gonna put together a letter in the next couple of days explaining this budget now that we've landed on it. Just reiterating what we just said. And we'll get that out to the courier and the messenger, and we'll throw it on Facebook, just to let people know where we're at. And
I usually do a 2-page budget justification. Did you want that, or do you want to do the letter instead?
no, absolutely, go ahead. And I don't mean to step on anybody's toes.
Well, no, I mean, if you want to do it, I don't want to stop you from it, but
Well, if you don't want to do that, you
Nope.
want to talk about it tomorrow?
yeah, let's talk. We'll take it offline, but it's done one way or the other. I just usually summarize why things changed, and it's a 2-page spreadsheet. Perfect. That's great. So D under manager's list we covered. We already approved those minutes for the special select board meeting.
Carrie, does this motion that we just made, does that carry you to put the to be raised by taxes amount on the warning, or is that another motion we'll have to make Friday?
No, we just put that amount on the. When you approve the warning, you'll by default be approving that number.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Mhm.
The number's gonna be different, it's gonna be lower, because this, that's our
Right.
total expenses we just
Yep.
approved without taking in any revenues.
Well, I mean, it's not a secret, so we subtract the revenues, which the amount to be raised by taxes is $4,422,592. Yeah. So the item that I was previously talking about is the select board special meeting minutes. We will make the minutes, and even if there was no motions taken, we continue to do that. We just approve them. There's nothing else to talk about there, but the messenger print schedule is on here because they reported very recently that they were going to switch their printing schedule to Tuesdays and Fridays. And Kate is from the messenger, I hear, and may or may not be prepared to explain that in greater detail, but at this point, I think we're not going to change anything. We usually reconsider where we're going to put our publications, our notices, every year in late March, after town meeting day, after the select board organizes. A town is required to indicate what its local paper is, quote unquote. It's just, it could be pretty challenging for us with a paper that's only printed twice a week, to put our postings there. I mean, the point of the posting is to let people know we're doing what we're doing, and we still do it on Facebook, we do it on the website, we put it in 3 or 4 places in town. I just wanted you aware of that. I'm not requesting a motion, but we really got to think about this in the next month or 2.
No, I appreciate that very much, and thanks for your consideration.
Thank you, Katie.
So, does anybody have any other questions for Carrie under the town manager's report? Busy as ever. So schedule, we've got Friday at 2:30 for a special meeting to approve the warning. And we're gonna call Aaron and Jessica if the estimate that comes in around noon or before is not in line with what we think it should be. So other than that, we have our next regular meetings on February 1st and February 17th. That'll be a Wednesday, again, for President's Day. So Does anybody have anything else at the schedule? Do we foresee the need for any special meetings beyond what we just talked about? No? Okay.
No, I don't think
All
we
right.
need meetings. Just beware, Corey is continuing with his public outreach campaign on the town hall, so you'll see posts and letters and.
The picture of Anna on our Facebook page tonight, it already had a handful of reactions when I saw it.
Yep, so that's going on actively right now.
And we're also going to mail everybody a ballot, which will probably be a rarity in the county. So, I mean, we're going to do everything we can to hold the freest, fairest election possible, and the most easily accessible.
Yep, and then we just have one executive session item, contractual at this point.
Yeah, we got so number 9, my report, I met with the mayor, I don't know, a handful of days ago. We're going to start meeting more regularly. We're going to open dialogue. It seems to be there's been a great realization in the last 12 months or so, well, last 10 months or so, that the city and town are actually pretty different animals, and that, you know, they're two different animals that sometimes can eat the same prey, is I guess how I would put it. So we've kind of looked at it as where can we help you excel, and that's all we're going to talk about. So he had mentioned the Congress Street sidewalk and discussed maybe the town building that to Hardak. He said the scope was changing and that they had just changed a concrete section over to a mixed-use stone path. We mentioned a few other initiatives, talked some city council stuff, and you know, he's I think he's pretty supportive as a camp owner in the town of the town hall project. I don't mean to speak for him, but that was what I got out of it. And he had a quick question that I got to relay to Alan about his role with FCIDC in the industrial park and some shoulder work we want to do in the spring. But other than that, it was fairly uneventful. We'll keep meeting on a regular basis, probably bi-weekly or at least monthly, readying to keep the lines of communication open. That way, when we hear back from the program that we signed up for to do together, that we're on a waiting list for right now, when that rolls around, it won't be a time that we reignite our discussions. It'll just be a broader continuance.
So Brendan, I misspoke when I said you had nothing left. You do want to officially talk about town meeting day.
Yeah, and I think Jessica has a couple pieces of other business.
Okay.
Other folks might too. So that said, that's my report. If anybody has anything for me, you know, drop me an email anytime. Just want to say that Corey, Megan, you know, Jeff Roby, Molly Maschere, everybody we hired this year is working out fantastic. So whatever the hiring process is, I know AJ and maybe Jen have been sitting in on some interviews, and you know, it seems like whatever you got going on over there is working. And Alan, good job hiring Jeff. He seems to be a really down-to-earth, hard-working guy. And a former St. Albans local who relocated from Colorado back home. So that's pretty neat. So, Jessica?
You're muted.
Yeah, so 2 things. The first thing is our Parks Committee. We, if anybody's interested out there in joining, we certainly would welcome a few new members. We kind of have a small committee at this point, and I don't think we have a designated number that need to serve, but if people ever happen to call town hall, if you could let them know too, that we're out there and looking for participation. We have some good, exciting projects, and we have Alan and John who are awesome to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second thing is a little more, I guess, reflective and action-oriented. You know, we're having this meeting on a Wednesday because Martin Luther King Jr. Day was on Monday, and it just felt really different to me this year. You know, a lot of the quotes that you see are still ringing true today. We're still struggling with a lot of the same racial and equity issues out there. And I had the opportunity to listen to Susanna Davis, who's the new state director of racial equity for the state. And the state is definitely going to come out with some recommendations, but I really feel like to move the needle, municipalities need to take some action as well. So I've just been wondering about our role. You know, is there a role that we have to play in making equity more of a reality? How do we make all people feel welcome in St. Albans? How do we make people feel like they belong here, like the town belongs to everybody who chooses to live here? I mean, the facts are like Vermont is the second oldest, the second whitest state in the nation. We need young people. We need to be inclusive. We need to ensure that people want to be here. And I'm not a leader. I'm not an expert in this topic. I'm trying to learn every day through reading. I've gone to a few trainings, and it's not always a comfortable topic to talk about. But I find myself on the select board with a little bit of sphere of influence, a little bit of a ability to do something. And it just feels like it's my responsibility to try to make some changes. So I don't know the best place to start. Maybe it's like language in our contracts. Maybe it's language in our policies. Maybe we move to having some trainings. Maybe we're able to foster a larger community conversation. Ms. Davis and the Vermont Council on Rural Development offered this guide. It's called the Municipal Engagement Guide for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion tool. And I have a copy of it, and I'm happy to send it to everybody. And I was hoping that maybe we could put it on a future agenda for some discussion. I just think the work that we did on our police advisory board was such a good start, and I really would like to see that momentum moving forward.
Speaking of that, Corey, have you had any applicants to the police advisory?
Yep, we have a handful. I spoke with one yesterday. We're probably missing, we still need someone from the fire department, and we still need a local business owner. There is somebody who's applied who owns a small LLC, but it's not their primary job that you could consider in that. But, two, three more people. We don't have much on ends of diversity. We have one female applicant and no one who lives within the community that's a person of color of any nature. So if anyone is interested that could, provide some perspective and diversity to the group, open to them sending them in. My goal is to have a list of folks for you guys to approve at the next meeting.
So with that in mind, I mean, we had, Corey, you remember that statement? Are you in a place where you can disclose who helped you write that statement?
Oh yeah, I worked with Keisha Ram, who does a lot of consulting with school districts. She's a Senate colleague of mine, and we were good friends when we were in the House together. So
Keisha was recently sworn in as
a state senator for Chittenden County, but she's the first woman of color in the Vermont State Senate.
So our police advisory policy, our police advisory committee policy has a statement that was authored in part by the first female person of color to serve in our state Senate. So it's like there's things happening every day. I mean, the first Kamala Harris is the first African American, Asian American female nationally elected. Like like Joe Biden said today, he goes, this sounds foreign, but how do we move the needle? Jessica's right. So is there a policy review? I guess Corey, you've been in the State House when they created Ms. Davis's position.
So there's a tool the state is working on developing for the legislature that isn't developed yet, but it's a way to score policy and legislation as we look at it from from a gender neutral perspective, from a racial perspective. And, as that develops over the next few months, I'm happy to share that with the select board and see if maybe that's a policy we start applying to our own things. But we're in the middle of designing it. We had, I was actually in an implicit bias training with Susanna and Bor, and from the Human Rights Commission yesterday. So we they were going over some of the stuff that we need to do that, we don't always consider. One of them, that you don't think about or you think you are doing good is they brought up was the smoking age 21, but that limits Native Americans and First Nations folks who use tobacco in ceremonies under 21 from participating. So there are things we don't look at from a different perspective that, is just different. So it's Yeah, like I said, there's work to be done. I think Susanna is a great resource for all of us. Carrie and I talked about potentially doing a training for staff on some of those issues. That's an avenue you can go down. And then, like I said, as they develop those tools for the state to use, I can make sure to see how we apply those to a municipal level.
You'd essentially create a scorecard and then be able to check every policy against it and then do suggested changes.
Yeah.
That seems like where we want to be, maybe within 6 months. Maybe by June, we're looking at all our policies for a review.
I don't know if the state will have it done in 6 months, but I think.
Well, even that point, it sounds like a simple thing. If you could have somebody like Susanna and then maybe Keisha and I know you're well connected, Senator, so anybody you can have help us.
Yeah, I can look into it and get you a more concrete timeline.
We don't like to wait for the state around here, Senator.
If I can, I just wanted to just jump in and just say that it's great to hear this conversation, and I'm grateful for the work that the town's already been doing to help meet the needs of our whole community and being a welcoming place. The document that Jessica referenced, this tool for municipalities, I had a chance to look at it too, and it's a great tool, and it has a lot of different steps that meet towns where they're at in this conversation. So I think it's a great thing for us all to review and think about like where we might want to take a first glance at the work that we're doing. And certainly a police advisory board was part of that, and we're already working towards that. So I think, and that was actually, I think towards the end of the list, and they said it gets harder as you go. So we've already tackled something, and we have an opportunity to, relook at that and everything else, as we go. And, part of this municipal document was also to help towns as they think about rebuilding and growing better coming out of COVID. And that's an opportunity as folks are looking at moving all around the country, making sure that whoever's considering our town looks at this town and says, this is a place where I can live.
And that being said, from a different angle, our new website will have the ability, we're working developing that it'll be translatable to, I forget how many languages, but not just, so people will be able to read it in French and Spanish and so on and so forth. They work with us to help make it translatable. It hits everywhere. I mean, the state passed last year that we put the Abnaki name for every state park, or what it was originally known as, on all of our signs. So, that's a project. Again, there's a bunch of different things we can do, some big and some small. We could look at what St. Albans Bay's, look for information on what St. Albans Bay's name was before it was St. Albans Bay, and put that on our Bay Park sign, and so on and so forth. So there's, we can develop a plan and just, look for ways to build it in as we move forward.
If you guys do end up pursuing some bias training, I think it would be great if the select board and the planning board, any of the boards could take part in that as well. I know everything I've gone to, I've learned something that I had never even thought about before. And there's always more to learn.
We actually were going to try to include all of our boards too. I talked to Jen about that a couple days ago, so perfect timing.
Yeah. Could I forward that document on to everybody to take a look?
Yeah, please. Or if you just send it to Jen, I'll do it for you.
Okay, perfect.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Just not even 24 hours ago, we had a sitting Secretary of State say that multiculturalism was going to be the end of American society as we know it. It's our past, it's our history, it's our present, and it's our future. So it's nice to see local government at this level making strides, even when the national conversation isn't headed in the right direction. But hopefully with today's inauguration, a lot of things will start to change and people will be in lockstep with what we'd hope to do. So let's take some action out of this. We're gonna have a slate hopefully to approve for the Police Advisory Committee or Board for the February 1st meeting. We're going to try to build a tool, either with or without the state, to evaluate all of our policies, ordinances, and any other internal documents that we have. And then Jessica's going to forward some stuff on either directly from her or through Jen for us to read. And this will be an ongoing discussion that we can keep having And we can keep adding to it and try to take at least one action item out of every time we talk about it. I think that's an important thing. A lot of people are talking and let's move it. Right? So, thank you, Jessica. Does anybody have anything else to add under other business?
The town meeting day.
Yeah, that was a new agenda item.
Oh, okay.
Number 11.
Never mind.
Yep.
Nothing.
So we need, as we discussed in the earlier part of our meeting in our budget work session, we would like to mail every registered voter a ballot. We know that that's not a requirement, but we know that the state will reimburse us for the cost. And our town clerk has said we can rise to meet this challenge. We have no reason to believe that we can't. We're doing a short warning ourselves. We'll only have 4 articles, just regular elections, approving our general expenses to be raised by taxes, using up to $250,000 of a prior year general fund balance to reduce taxes for fiscal year 22, and then Article 4, which will be the town hall construction cost article. We're also going to mail, if someone makes a motion and we get a second and it's adopted, we're going to mail everybody a school ballot also. And I think that we should also challenge other communities nearby to do the same thing. Rise to meet the challenge, because the next couple months are going to probably be the darkest of the whole pandemic if you listen to experts. This new more contagious strand is in New York State. It'll be in Vermont if it's not already. Who knows what that'll do. Aaron, do you have any new health department updates? Anything to share about where we're at?
I think, nothing I can say is not what you've heard from other leaders. I think just the thing with the new strain is everything that we've been doing to take care of it is what you should continue to be doing. And just if you've gotten lax in things over the last little bit, it's easy to do. Just try to tighten up measures just to kind of prepare for this. But I'm just sharing that as someone who read that in the New York Times, not with my other hat on.
Thanks, Aaron. So I guess, does anybody have any further comment about our decision, our upcoming decision that we're about to make about elections? Or does anybody have an alternative path to propose or want to make a motion?
I just had a quick question. There still will be in-person voting, correct? If people
Absolutely.
choose to. Yeah.
We're gonna mail everybody a ballot. We'll, Anna was gonna speak with somebody at the Secretary of State's office. We're gonna flag them all as requested absentees. We'll mail them out, and then if they're not returned, the person will be able to get an in-person ballot, same as the general election that we just had. So Anna's really on top of her game. I'll put it that way. She got a grant for a second tabulator. She's got her hat on with being the school district clerk. She's on the ballot in a couple different places this year, and on top of it all, she's willing to help us mail everybody a ballot and kind of direct that traffic. So it's our vote, it's our decision according to the law that was the bill that was signed into law by the governor. But we can't make this decision without the help of our elected clerk. Did an amazing job, her and her team, of doing a safe, seamless general election and the primaries before that. So I think, given her track record and her ability to rise to meet challenges, total confidence. Hearing no comment, would anybody like to make a motion to set our town meeting day date for March 2nd as planned, and then to authorize the clerk to mail every registered voter a ballot per, Corey, do you have did that get an act number?
I just leave it out at this point. I don't think you have to mention it in this motion.
I mean, ballots for mailing, or?
No, I'm talking, what got signed into law, should we mention that in the motion, or does it matter? What gives us authority to do this?
I mean,
You don't have to. We don't have to. If anybody would like to make a motion somewhat to the effect that I just rambled, that would be great.
I'll make a motion to set town meeting day for March 2nd and authorize our clerk to mail out a ballot to all the registered voters.
Do we need to add anything for the school ballots too, or is that separate?
Want
I
to
would say
include school ballot.
friendly amendment, maybe to include school ballots.
Okay. So, do we have a second to the amended motion?
Second.
Aaron, thank you very much. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Right.
Jen, for the record, I want to ceremoniously vote yes. This is one thing that we can do that was within our control to be a good municipality in a pandemic. I hope others do the same.
Whoop, whoop.
Thank you. And thank you, Anna, for taking this on. We look forward to helping you however you need us. So just let us know. Do we have any other business before we move into executive session for a contractual purpose?
No, I don't.
Hearing none, if someone would like to make a motion to enter executive session to discuss a contractual matter where premature general public knowledge will place the town or persons involved at a substantial disadvantage.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town at a substantial disadvantage. I also further move to make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes, and to invite the town manager
And Director of Operations.
and Director of Operations.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion carried. So, Alan, thanks for coming. I hate your shirt as a Red Sox fan, but I love you, so everything's okay. It balances